Alright, here it is, final installation. Got this installed. Again, I ended up swapping those clips. Still don't recommend it. I was hoping I would once I finally got it all installed. With the factory clips, it will actually retain it down in to the clip panel just below the windshield. It will hold it, which is good. So far, so good. Just final fitment issues that, it's close. It's not exact. Will it look decent? It'll look okay. I had an issue with mine right here. Really infuriates me, but basically this was glued too far this way from the factory, or whoever pieced this thing together. And as you can see here, it should have been further over this way, which means that this has got to come back out, which I'm not excited for. I don't want these clips to break off. This is fairly cheap plastic. I ended up busting one of the tabs here and another one on the other side trying to install it, trying to get it wiggled down into place. Poor fitment. It did go in, but now I've got to peel this up. What I'm going to end up doing is just trimming that edge off so that this will sit flush. And the problem isn't right here. The problem is actually down in here. But it is what it is. It does look considerably better than how shattered mine was before. You can see we are all nice and solid and complete again. Those little rubber pieces, this one seems to have stayed in place for the most part. Not looking too bad. Passenger side did fall a little bit, but it is still down in there. It is still in place. Still highly infuriating. That really shouldn't be that. It should have just been attached from the factory, but it kind of is what it is. A couple other quick ones for you real quick. Got a whole bunch of fittings in the mail, a whole bunch of AN fittings. This will help anybody out that's trying to do an Ecoboost swap, trying to use a Ecoboost turbo. This one is I believe, off a 2011 F-150. The rest of them are pretty similar on the F-150s, and the other 3.5 trans or longitudinally mounted. So engine's in the very front of the car, and it's pointed backwards. This is going to work for it. The other ones, not so sure, but what we ended up doing, so you see this plug here, this was actually had a fitting on it, which, let's see how far I threw that dirty SOB once I finally got him out. I think I threw him, there he is. This is what was in it before. This is a quick disconnect. You could see he was really in there, stuck hard and tight, been in there for some years. Definitely some temperature, but this is just an aluminum fitting. You can see there's a little O-ring down in there. This is a quick disconnect style. The problem is if you try to use them off of the F-150, you've either got to make a custom bent line to get a quick disconnect into there, and then you're ending up welding the line together, and I didn't want to do that kind of crap. So what I did was swap to these AN style fittings. So the cheat, this is 10 AN, and this is fitting perfectly here on this side of the turbo. I had to move a plug. There was a plug in this one that I had to transfer, but that gives me more room over here. You can see I am more than clear to tighten this down and will not have issues. Now the fitting that I'm using to adapt to this quick disconnect is an M14 by 1.5 to 10 AN. But that is the fitting. I got this from, I want to say it was K Motor Performance. Yes. eBay. Great stuff. Sometimes we'll see if it leaks. But it also came with a nice rubber steel seal. So this should do very, very well. Slides right over like that, threads in, and then obviously I've still got to attach this to the AN line before I attach it to this. But I just wanted to make sure that I would have all the clearance that I needed. So far, so good, at least as far as the cooling system goes. I bought a whole bunch of other fittings for the oil feed and return. Thread it in there just so I don't lose it, keep it all somewhat together. The oil return, and this is a little bit of a mess. I dumped some oil on it just to kind of lubricate it because I know it's been sitting for quite some time. But basically they had excuse me, on the Ecoboost they had a fitting that had a drain coming out here, and then it had an oil line, a hard metal line that goes into the block on the F-150. Incredibly difficult to pull out when you are removing them without bending them, and I was just completely oblivious as to how I would ever adapt to that, and I realized that spending $130 for a used flange just wasn't the route to go. So what I did was took some 1/2 inch, cut this out, measured it up. I've got a template here somewhere. There's one of them. This isn't the one I ended up using, but something similar to this. So just put a piece of paper over it, stuck 2 bolts through it, and then kind of marked out and popped holes in it so I knew where everything would line up. And again, I didn't end up using that one. That one ended up being considerably off. But took a piece of 1/2 inch, cut it out, and now I've got a turbo flange, an oil drain and oil supply flange. Now the issue that I'm running into is I was hoping to use 10 AN, which is approximately the same size as the drain coming out. I was hoping to use a similar size, this guy right here. So this is a weld-on stainless steel 10 AN fitting. Got this on eBay. But I do have the right kind of metal filler wire to weld this stainless to this mild steel adapter that I made. But as you can see, the problem is that I've got to get him on there, and then I've also got to get at least a 4 AN. Now I could possibly go smaller than what's here, and I probably should. And that might over lubricate the turbo. We might be a little big on that. But you can see the problem is that we are not even close to fitting. In fact, I'll pull this off real quick so you can see this is a 4 AN stainless weld-on fitting. Oop, almost dropped him. But I'll show you the problem up here. You can see there's the hole. Now he's perfectly lined up, ready to be welded on, and this one is considerably off. So I'm definitely going to be doing some grinding. Hopefully you can get this small enough. I think I spent $5 or $10 a piece for this big 10 AN fitting, and I ended up buying like 4 of them. I think they were cheaper than that. It might have only been like $3. They weren't a whole lot, but I'm going to attempt to trim both of these to get them close enough. The only issue that I'm going to have is once I go to actually install the AN fittings, I have to ensure, and of course I dropped it. It's probably no good now. But I have to ensure that these fittings, once I grind these closer together, aren't going to run into each other and prevent me from being able to install and uninstall them. Now, I definitely could go down to 8 AN for the drain. I don't want to go too small. I don't want to create a restriction inside of the turbo. I'd like to stay that big, which is about a 10 AN fitting, but we're going to have to make this happen though. Ford definitely went out of their way to make this difficult, and in hindsight I had absolutely no idea just how wide these 10 AN fittings are, especially when paired next to a 4 AN fitting for the oil feed. That puts them just way too close together. Now the bottom diameter of these are both the same, so either way, even if I had gotten an 8 AN stainless steel weld-on fitting, they still would have been too close together, so I still would have ended up grinding. But the problem isn't having to grind so much of it off, because I can very simply grind off about that much of it, get it a little bit closer. I'll obviously have to do some grinding for the bolt as well, because you can see the line goes right over the middle of it. So I'm definitely going to have to do some grinding on both sides, at least a good amount, and still be able to weld it on there and still be able to get a bolt in there. I mean, Ford definitely went out of their way. Now, there are definitely some ways to alleviate this problem. If I would have gone to like a 1/4 inch NPT fitting, which in fact I've got one of those laying around here somewhere. And I do. This is it right here, ICT billet. Again, this came from eBay, but this is a 4 AN flare male to 1/4 inch NPT pipe. This guy right here. Got this on eBay. I might have spent a little bit more for this. Might have been 10 or 12 bucks. Initially, this was going to be for the oil supply. However, if you'll notice here, if I were to have tapped this and drilled this out for this, now granted this hole was too big, I might even have to drop down to a 2 AN, or leave the hole that small on the back side and only drill it deep enough. Nope. Yeah, we're still too long, see? We're going to be all the way through it. But this might have been a better option. You can see just how much smaller that is. We'll see if we can get you a view through. Oil port about there. That definitely gets us a little better off. At least a little bit. But if I would have done the same thing over here, just used a 10AN thread in, but then again, we might have still run into the same issues. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a little bit more of a fight to figure out how to do this. I may even end up having to do something just completely crazy, like grinding down the bottom part of where this flange meets, grind it off at a 45 like that. Then that should get my AN fittings far enough away that I should still be able to thread them in. But this is definitely going to require some thought for sure to try to make this happen. I may just end up having to drop down to 8 AN. I really don't want to do that. I want, you know, the biggest drain possible, the better off you are. I mean, you definitely can't over drain a turbo, if that makes sense. Especially these style, where I believe this is a scroll style. This is not a ball bearing turbo. I believe this is a much like a main bearing. It is a quote unquote, I believe, quote unquote frictionless bearing, I believe is what they call that, where you've got brass bearings floating on an oil film on top of a journal. But hopefully I can make this work. I will definitely get you guys updated on this one. But wanted to give you guys an idea as to progress. We are getting places slowly but surely. Just hoping the checks keep rolling in pretty heavy at work. Keep this project